Welcome to the channel to some random news that I came across. I'm going to have some links down below in the description. 3 of them. 1, 2, and 3. And it is pretty wild, so let me just try to get to the point, and then if I feel the need to have to ramble, I'll do that after. So, ex-professional wrestler Too Cold Scorpio seems to be too stabby. He was arrested for a violent stabbing just a couple of nights ago there, and you could see a picture, it's been blurred out, of a man completely laid out on the sidewalk, bloodied. And then there's an incident where allegedly Chris Benoit stopped Too Cold from murdering Hawk on the infamous North Korea trip back in 1995. So it's making him look not that good right now. But if we give him the benefit of the doubt, he was doing security at a gas station. And this man entered, and apparently Too Cold told him, hey man, you can't be smoking in here, you got to put that out. Too Cold says the guy said, what are you going to do about it? And they ended up in a scuffle, and he threatened him. So he took him outside, and they were wrestling back and forth. And eventually, Too Cold pulled out the knife, and he just started shanking him in self-defense, he says. So now he's actually been arrested and charged, and the person that was smoking did admit that there was a chance that he may have accidentally entered the convenience store at the gas station with his cigarette still lit after having trying to put it out. He says that Too Cold was the aggressor. She said, you know, that kind of shit. So right now he's being charged. He's behind bars. He's got 2 felony charges, 1 count of first-degree assault and 1 count of armed criminal action. Court records show after the bond is out, he pled not guilty, and he's due back in court for the hearing sometime next month. So that's that. Now this is where things get really wild, because I started looking him up on that incident, and then other stuff came up, and I was like, man, he's got a thing for wanting to stab people. So I'm not going to play it because I don't want to get a copyright strike. This is a link to Dark Side of the Ring, Season 3, Episode 4, The Collision in North Korea, which happened in 1995. Okay? It was a very dark time, hence Dark Side of the Ring. And in here, it alleges, because he admits to it, Too Cold admits to it, that Chris Benoit helped stop him from murdering Hawk during the infamous trip. So basically what happened, if I can try to remember this off the top of my head and use my own words rather than just narrating off the script, is that they were talking on the bus and Too Cold decided to run his mouth and called Hawk from Legion of Doom or Road Warriors a pussy. From there, Hawk flipped out, started throwing fists at him, they scuffled. And then when they ended up in North Korea, they did the same thing. They were scuffling up a couple of times. And then he eventually got fed up, Too Cold Scorpio that is, and thought to himself, you know what, I'm going to make a shiv, because they had gone to eat with some metal chopsticks, and he was going to file them down and use them as a shank, and he was going to stab Hawk. And Chris Benoit's like, look, man, I know, you might see some irony in here, said it's just not worth it, you shouldn't do it. And thankfully, what ended up in the end was, nothing happened. The pair ended up meeting in an elevator after the final dinner, and Hawk apologized. An apology which was accepted, and apparently he was just feeling cranky. So, that to me is some really wild shit. Like, really, really wild. And the reason he wanted to stab him, by the way, not to try and defend him, but to try to play devil's advocate, is he says he was thinking, like, I'm going to be street smart. I'm going to make a shiv. I'm going to stab him, is what he says here. So, I don't know. Like, I've been in a lot of sticky situations where I almost came across some stuff like this, some pretty serious stuff. And nothing ended up happening because I was able to diffuse the situation. So on paper, again, it can look really bad. Like you can actually end up in a situation where this happened. Because like I said, I was almost in a situation where I would have had to have done that. and I had a small little Swiss Army knife on me. And it was a very serious situation. I had some people that thought I said something about their gang or something like that. And I hadn't said anything at all, actually. Like, literally, not a single word. I didn't even know who the people were. Just a simple, stupid little rumor like that. And it led to this, me almost potentially getting attacked by a violent gang. And, yeah, like, I'm just glad nothing ended up coming of it. It was very, very awkward. A lot of things were going through my mind. I didn't want to get in trouble with the law, but at the same time, I also didn't want to potentially die. So, like, I'm almost 46 years old, and I do keep to myself, honestly. I do not like physical altercations. I've been in them. I've trained in martial arts for several years. I really, really despise violence. I don't like having to defend myself in the sense that I don't want to be in that situation to begin with. I don't enjoy it. I take no pride or joy or amusement at all when those events do happen. So many things can go wrong. You can lose an eye, you can die, you can accidentally kill someone. Like, it's a very serious thing to get into a scuffle with someone. You trip, you smack your head, you could end up being paralyzed or dead, like I said. I don't know. Like, for me, it's kind of like I'm not Dr. Phil. My real name is Phil, but I'm not Dr. Phil. I can't give you like a psychoanalysis on the guy, but given that he's been around for a long time, he's never been to jail, it would lead me to believe that maybe he just had a string of really bad luck, if what he's saying is true about this guy here. And I think depending on your circumstances, like your string of luck or bad luck, you could end up being in these situations quite a few times throughout your life, and then you go to talk about it and people are like, come on, man, you have all these things coming out against you, it's not making you look good, and it'll make you start questioning the person. But in a lighter hearted situation, my father was in 3 terrible car accidents within the span of like 3 or 4 years, none of which was his fault. And he had to fight the insurance companies because they kept wanting to jack up his insurance because they were like, man, you're high risk. Look at all these crazy accidents you're in. But the cops, very graphically, or whatever, they were very strong in their assertion that my father was 0% at fault, like absolute 0% at fault. And like, it just, things can happen, and it can make you look bad on paper when you look at it. You hear someone with no car accidents, all of a sudden now they're in their 70s, or actually at the time he was in his mid-60s, pushing 70. And then all of a sudden you get into like all these crazy car accidents. It's going to start, you know what I'm saying? Like, well, maybe it's the person that's the problem, when it isn't. So even though I'm hearing all of this, I mean, I don't know what happened at the gas station, right? I'm one of those people. I wasn't there to see what happened. I can just go by what he's saying. And then, yes, the whole Chris Benoit North Korea thing with Hawk from the Road Warriors. My goodness, that startled me. That doesn't help the situation. If I kept getting punched or attacked, I don't know. These are like wrestlers. Like, I don't know exactly how it all went down, except for how it's described on the TV show. I would not, no matter how angry I was, I would not have made a makeshift weapon to try and neutralize someone, regardless of how good my intent was, like in just wanting to maim someone enough so that they don't attack me again. But he did try to, I do want to add that according to his testimony, he was in North Korea. Well, it's right here, and they were walking. And he's like, hey, man, we're Americans. We shouldn't be fighting, blah, blah, blah. And he states that Hawk just sucker punched him again, just constantly getting attacked violently. So that's when he was like, you know what, I'm just going to do this thing with the makeshift weapon. Just a crazy story. Like I said, there's a lot of wild stuff that goes on. I don't always want to get dramatic on my channel. But when something like this happens, and it's kind of wrestling related, because it has to do with a wrestler, that wrestled in the 80s and 90s. Most of the people watching this video, like the 3 or 4 people that'll see this video, you may not even know who Too Cold Scorpio is. But things like this, sure, I'll talk about them. Initially, I wasn't going to bother. I was like, man, whatever. But then, like I said, I started looking into it, saw the Chris Benoit thing, and then the trip to North Korea, and I was like, oh my God. I totally don't think I recall ever hearing this story. And I've been watching wrestling since the 80s, so it just kind of shows you again that you can be a fan of wrestling or a fan of anything, and you can still have some pretty big pieces of information slip you by that have been going on for almost 30 years. Is that because nobody talked about it? I don't know. But I don't recall this story ever being out. Ever. Anyways, I feel like I'm going to start running in circles here, so I'm going to end the video. Let me know down below what you think. Do you know who Too Cold Scorpio is? Did you hear about him wanting to take out Hawk? Like, those are some pretty wild things there. Like, I don't even understand how he wasn't potentially charged for that. I don't know. Thumbs up if you liked the video. It does greatly help support the channel with the algorithm and trying to make me more relevant in the search results when people are looking shit up online. If you didn't like the video, excuse me, go ahead, give it a thumbs down. No, I'm not going to go where you think I'm going. Bend it in half, twist it, give you the solo Sakoan spike right in the rear. And again, for clarification, your thumb, not mine. And if you want to subscribe, exactly, you know what's up. And if not, thanks for stopping by anyways. Take care, and maybe, if I'm lucky, I'll see some of you in the next one. Drop a comment down below if there's ever a story that you hear of that has to do with wrestling, and you'd like to hear what I think of it. And then I can go and try to research it, put some time in so I kind of halfway know what I'm talking about a little bit. And I'll make a video on it so I can get another 15 views on my channel. Take care, and until next time, bye for now.